Our names. In South Carolina, we become the grandchildren, Gunnar's three little ones, Sister Irby's grands, Mary Ann's babies. When we are called by our names, my grandmother makes them all one, Hopedale Jackie, but my grandfather takes his sweet time, saying each as if he has all day long, or a whole lifetime. Ohio behind us. When we ask our mother how long we'll be here, sometimes she says for a while, and sometimes she tells us not to ask anymore, because she doesn't know how long we'll stay in the house where she grew up, on the land she's always known. When we ask, she tells us this is where she used to belong, but her sister Caroline, our Aunt Kay, has moved to the north. Her brother Odell is dead now, and her baby brother Robert says he's almost saved enough money to follow Caroline to New York City. Maybe I should go there too, my mother says. Everyone else, she says, has a new place to be now. Everyone else has gone away. And now coming back home isn't really coming back home at all. The garden. Each spring, the dark Nickeltown dirt is filled with the promise of what the earth can give back to you if you work the land, plant the seeds, pull the weeds. My southern grandfather missed slavery by one generation. His grandfather had been owned. His father worked the land from dawn till dusk for the promise of cotton and a little pay. So this is what he believes in, your hands in the dirt, until the earth gives back to you all that you've asked of it. Sweet peas and collards, green peppers and cukes, lettuce and melon, berries and peaches, and one day when I'm able, my grandfather says, I'm going to figure out how to grow myself a pecan tree. God gives you what you need, my grandmother says. Best not to ask for more than that. Humph, my grandfather says, and goes back to working the land, pulling from it all we need, and more than that. Gunnar's children. At dusk, just as the fireflies flicker on, my grandfather makes his way home. We see him coming slow down the road, his silver lunchbox bouncing soft against his leg. Now, as he gets closer, we hear him singing, Where will the weddin' supper be? Way down yonder in a hollow tree, Good evening, Miss Clara. Evening, Miss May. How's that leg, Miss Bell? What are you cooking, Auntie Charlotte? You thinking of making me something to eat? His voice ringing down Hall Street, circling around the roads of Nickeltown, and maybe out into the big, wide world. Maybe all the way up in New York. Aunt Kay's hearing it, and thinking about coming on home. Then he is close enough to run to, the three of us climbing him like a tree until he laughs out loud. We call him Daddy. This is what our mother calls him. This is all we know now. Our daddy seems taller than anyone else in all of Greenville. More handsome, too. His square jaw and light brown eyes so different from our own narrow-faced, dark-eyed selves. Still, his hand is warm and strong around my own as I skip beside him. The wind blowing up around us. He says, Y'all are Gunnar's children. Just keep remembering that. Just keep remembering. This is the way of Nickeltown evenings. Daddy coming home, me jumping into his arms, the others circling around him, all of us grinning, all of us talking, all of us loving him up. At the end of the day, there are white men working at the printing press beside Daddy, their fingers blackened with ink so that the end of the day, palms up, it's hard to tell who is white and who is not. Still, they call my grandfather Gunnar, even though he's a foreman and is supposed to be called Mr. Irby. But he looks the white man in the eye, sees the way so many of them can't understand a colored man telling them what they need to do. This is new, too fast for them. The South is changing. Sometimes they don't listen. Sometimes they walk away. At the end of the day, the newspaper is printed, the machines are shut down, and each man punches a clock and leaves, but only colored folks come home to Nickeltown. Here you can't look right or left or up or down without seeing brown people. Colored town, brown town, even a few mean words to say where we live. My grandmother tells us it's the way of the South. Colored folks used to stay here when they were told that they belonged, but times are changing, and people are itching to go where they want. This evening, though, I am happy to belong to Nickeltown. Day work. There is day work for colored women. In the mornings, their dark bodies filled the crosstown buses, taking them away from Nickeltown to the other side of Greenville, where the white people live. Our grandmother tells us this as she sets a small hat with a topaz pin on her head, pulls white gloves over her soft brown hands. 2 days a week, she joins the women, taking on this second job now that there are 4 mouths to feed, and the money she gets from part-time teaching isn't enough anymore. I'm not ashamed, she says. Cleaning is what I know. I'm not ashamed if it feeds my children. When she returns in the evening, her hands are ashen from washing other people's clothes, most often by hand. Her ankles swollen from standing all day, making beds and sweeping floors, shaking dust from curtains, picking up after other people's children, cooking. The list goes on and on. Don't any of you ever do day work, she warns us. I'm doing it now so you don't have to. And maybe all across Nickeltown other children are hearing this too. Get the Epsom salts, she says, leaning back into the soft brown chair, her eyes closing. When she isn't in it, Hope, Dell, and I squeeze in side by side, and still there is space left for one more. We fill a dishpan with warm water, pour the salts in, swirl it around, and carefully carry it to her feet. We fight to see who will get to rub the swelling from my grandmother's ankles, the smile back onto her face, the stories back into her too-quiet room. You could have eaten off the floor by the time I left this one house today, my grandmother begins, letting out a heavy sigh. But let me tell you, when I first got there, you would have thought the devil himself had come through. Lullaby. At night, every living thing competes for a chance to be heard. The crickets and frogs call out. Sometimes there's the soft woo-hoo of an owl lost amid the pines. Even the dogs won't rest until they've howled at the moon. But the crickets always win, long after the frogs stop croaking and the owl has found its way home, long after the dogs have lain down, losing the battle against sleep. The crickets keep going, as though they know their song is our lullaby. Bible times. My grandmother keeps her Bible on a shelf beside her bed. When the day is over, she reads quietly to herself, and in the morning she'll tell us the stories, how Noah listened to God's word, pulled 2 of each animal inside his ark, waited for the rains to come, and floated safely as the sinners drowned. It's morning now, and we have floated safely through the Nickeltown night. Our evening prayers, Jehovah, please give us another day, now answered. Biscuits, warm and buttered, stop halfway to our mouths. How much rain did it take to destroy the sinners? What lies did they tell to die such a death? How loud was the rain when it came? How did Noah know that the cobra wouldn't bite? The bull wouldn't charge? The bee wouldn't sting? Our questions come fast, but we want the stories more than we want the answers. So when my grandmother says, "Hush, so I can tell it," we do. Jacob's dream of a ladder to heaven, and Jesus with the children surrounding him, Moses on the mountain, fire burning words into stone. Even Salome intrigues us. Her wish for a man's head on a platter. Who wouldn't want this and live to tell the story of that wanting? Autumn is coming. Outside there's the sound of wind through the pine trees, but inside there are stories. There are biscuits and grits and eggs. The fire in the pot-bellied stove already filling the house with warmth. Still we shiver at the thought of evil Salome. Chew our biscuits slowly. We are safe here, miles and years away from Bible times. The Reader. When we can't find my sister, we know she is under the kitchen table, a book in her hand, a glass of milk, and a small bowl of peanuts beside her. We know we can call Odella's name out loud, slap the table hard with our hands, dance around it singing, "She'll be coming around the mountain." So many times the song makes us sick, and the circling makes us dizzy, and still my sister will do nothing more than slowly turn the page. The beginning. I cannot write a word yet, but at 3, I now know the letter J. Love the way it curves into a hook, that I carefully top with a straight hat, the way my sister has taught me to do. Love the sound of the letter and the promise that one day this will be connected to a full name, my own, that I will be able to write by myself, without my sister's hand over mine, making it do what I cannot yet do. How amazing these words are that slowly come to me. How wonderfully on and on they go. Will the words end? I ask whenever I remember to. Nope, my sister says, all of 5 years old now, and promising me infinity. Hope. The South doesn't agree with my brother. The heat sandpapers his skin. Don't scratch, my grandmother warns. But he does, and the skin grows raw beneath his fingers. The pollen leaves him puffy-eyed. His small breaths come quick, have too much sound around them. He moves slow, sickly, now where once he was strong. And when his body isn't betraying him, Ohio does. The memories waking him in the night, the view from my father's shoulders, the wonder of the Nelsonville house, the air so easy to breathe. You can keep your South, my father has said. Now Hope stays mostly quiet unless asked to speak, his head bent inside the superhero comic books my grandfather brings home on Fridays. Hope searches for himself inside their pages, leaves them dog-eared by Monday morning. The South, his mortal enemy. The South, his kryptonite. The Almost Friends. There's the boy from up the road with the hole in his heart. Some afternoons he comes to sit in our yard and listen to our stories. Our Aunt Kay, we tell him, lives in New York City, and maybe we will too someday. And yes, it's true, once we lived in Ohio, that's why we speak the way we do. We don't ask about the hole in his heart. Our grandmother warns us we know better than that. There is Cora and her sisters across the road. One word in my grandmother's mouth, you stay away from Cora and her sisters. Their mother left the family, ran off with their church pastor. Cora and her sisters sometimes sit and watch us. We watch them back, not asking what it feels like not to have a mother, because our grandmother warns us we know better than that. There are 3 brothers who live down the road. We know this only because our grandmother tells us. They live inside their dark house all summer, coming out in the evening when their mother returns from work long after we've bathed and slipped into our summer pajamas, books curled into our arms. These are our almost friends, the people we think about when we're tired of playing with each other. But our grandmother says 3 is plenty. 3 is a team. Find something to do together. And so over and over again we do. Even though we want to ask her, why can't we play with them? We don't. We know better than that. The right way to speak. The first time my brother says ain't, my mother pulls a branch from the willow tree growing down the hill at the edge of our backyard. As she slips her closed hand over it, removing the leaves, my brother begins to cry because the branch is a switch now. No longer beautifully weeping at the bottom of the hill, it whirs as my mother whips it through the air and down against my brother's legs. You will never, my mother says, say ain't in this house. You will never say ain't anywhere. Each switching is a warning to us. Our words are to remain crisp and clear. We are never to say huh, ain't, or y'all, get, or gonna. Never ma'am, just yes, with eyes meeting eyes enough to show respect. Don't ever ma'am anyone. The word too painful a memory for my mother of not so long ago. Southern subservient days. The list of what not to say goes on and on. You are from the North, our mother says. You know the right way to speak. As the switch raises dark welts on my brother's legs, Dell and I look on, afraid to open our mouths, fearing the South will slip out or into them. The Candy Lady. On Fridays, our grandfather takes us to the Candy Lady's house, even though our grandmother worries he's going to be the cause of our teeth rotting right out of our heads. But my grandfather just laughs, makes us open our mouths to show the strong, herby teeth we've inherited from his side of the family. The three of us stand there, our mouths open wide, strong white teeth inside, and my grandmother has to nod, has to say, "They're lucky," before sending us on our way. The Candy Lady's small living room is filled with shelves and shelves of chocolate bars and gumdrops, Good and Plenty and jujubes, moon pies and Nico wafers, lollipops and long red licorice strings. So much candy that it's hard to choose until our grandfather says, "Get what you want, but I'm getting myself some ice cream." Then the Candy Lady, who is gray-haired and never smiles, disappears into another room and returns a few minutes later with a wafer cone, pale yellow lemon chiffon ice cream dripping from it. Outside, even this late in the afternoon, the sun is beating down, and the idea of lemon chiffon ice cream cooling us, even for a few minutes, makes us all start saying at once, "Me too, Daddy! Me too, Daddy! Me too!" The walk home from the Candy Lady's house is a quiet one, except for the sound of melting ice cream being slurped up fast before it slides past our wrists, on down our arms, and onto the hot, dry road.